Listener discretion is advised.
Second book. Oh my goodness. So what's this one called and what's it about?
This is called The Hat Man, A Father's Transgressions, the State of Idaho versus Noel Snow. Noel Snow, I met him and married him here in Dover, where we are doing this broadcast.
Right.
And unfortunately, I was 24, desperate, still wounded at that point from my childhood, and I married what I knew. He smelled right, talked right, looked right, and shouted right. Oh.
What you knew, explain that a little bit.
He was a sex offender, and I didn't know it.
But I mean, but what I'm saying is he was kind of like your father, I guess.
Yes, he talked like my dad and told me how wonderful I was. If I married him, he'd make sure I was taken care of. Never be like my dad.
Right.
And wasn't too many years he's sending me home to be beaten by them to make me mind. He was clever. I was dumb. What can I say? I was dumber than the dumb, but I grew up. 20 years after I married him, he sexually offended our children. And here in Dover, if I'd only knew, I'd have walked away. I just wanted to be loved. And he told me he'd love me.
Right.
But I don't think he ever did. But at age 44, my youngest daughter came to me and said, Mama, Papa's hurting me. And I knew what he was then. 20 years into the marriage, I knew what I'd married. So far, I have found 36 victims that, besides our children, that he has abused.
Goodness gracious.
I came back to Arkansas 18 years ago to face, I'd pastor churches here, and I went to the churches and apologized if he had touched anyone. I took responsibility. It was my place to. And to let them know that if he had, it wasn't their fault.
Right.
And it wasn't.
Goodness.
You may be hearing this here in Dover or in the Johnson County. If he touched you, it wasn't your fault. It was his choices. And I know some of you've come to me and told me, and I appreciate that. As I told you then, I'll tell you now, it wasn't your fault. It was his choices. But he was arrested and was convicted in the state of Idaho. And I fought. There was no law in 1991 to protect children. He got 37 days in jail, 7.5 years probation. And he came back here to Dover and married another woman. And I've been told that he raped 2 of her grandchildren. And they never did a thing about it because I told them, I sent the paperwork, his court conviction, to that family. And if you're hearing this, it's on you. It's not on me. And he died in 2002. And I came back here and danced on his grave in freedom.
Right.
And at age 44, I grew up, looked back, saw the horrific childhood that led me to fall into the pit of marrying him. Even though I'd got an education,
right.
I didn't know any different, but I sure had to learn different.
Goodness, you had to go through it twice.
Yes. And I was the family scapegoat. Even today, my baby brother blames me for what they did. And he was 6 years old and I left home.
Right.
I didn't know what was happening. I got away. But he's still very angry. And they blame me till they died for everything that happened. My oldest brother, when he finally left home, they said it was my fault. Every time they had a fight, it was my fault.
It was your fault, yeah.
Yes. I was the scapegoat.
Right, exactly.
And that's the reason when I went to Boise State University, I got everything I could learn in psychology, in communication. My counseling stuff I do is through the communication degree. And there it was geared towards counseling. And I learned so much that how that you're tricked, how that they play these mind games and it's mind control. But you made a reference a while ago to from Dover.
Oh, yeah. What Dover's unfortunately known for, Russellville area.
And that was?
Ronald Gene Simmons.
Ronald Gene Simmons was my husband's hero. He based, the last years of my marriage was based on Ronald Gene Simmons and what he did. And I was violently attacked and raped over and over and over. And
Horrible.
my oldest daughter at 14 was pregnant by him. And I had an abortion. And she hates me, but it's all right.
Yeah.
I stopped it. That's the reason I mentioned you can stop it. I killed it dead in my family. I made up my mind. Didn't matter if everybody in my family hates me, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I refused to stop telling my story.
Right.
Because these stories, there's so many people out there
Right.
that needs to know it's okay to tell your story.
Right.
It's okay to fight back. Governor Andrus of Idaho got involved and helped me. Richard Stalling was a congressman. They helped. And the federal VA doctors there in Boise, Idaho, knew my ex-husband was raping the children and me and did nothing to stop. But on March...
So that's on him.
It's on them.
Them, yeah.
Yeah. But it was in the records. The doctor had written one line, and I knew the date. I signed the paperwork. Richard Stallings got into his VA paperwork, and there it was. Wife says, believes husband's raping children and raping her. Dr. Larry Dewey wrote it. Then they went to court and lied. I sued the federal VA and won, the first case in the country as far as we know. I came out fighting. I grew up.
Right.
And I've not quit fighting, and I won't quit till I die.
Right.
And that's the reason I'd love to testify in front of the legislature and say, look, here's my story.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what you're letting go but not protecting the victims of Arkansas.
Right.
And it's in the legislature's power to do an amendment to protect domestic violence and victims in Arkansas and give us some rights. We don't have any here in Arkansas. There's nothing.
I had no idea.
There's anything on the books to protect victims. They've got an amendment right now trying to get it passed. And prosecutors, you need to wise up and realize, look, there's a way to help victims testify. There's a way to give them strength. And that's through having these laws where they're protected and given protection.
Kind of makes you wonder if they're against it, then maybe they're getting paid to.
Well, maybe they're part of the problem. Maybe they're participating.
They are, exactly. If they're against it, they're part of the problem.
I say, how many closet abusers do we have functioning as doctors, lawyers, legislators, preachers?
You never know.
Well, I've learned so much. In the second book, you'll learn all that I tell it all. When I was 18 and went to Little Rock, I went to Assembly of God Church, and a pastor tried to rape me that year. I didn't. I thought, really, my parents had told me it's all my fault. And so I thought it's my fault. These men were lining up, seemed like, and getting a hold of me. I had one therapist tell me she believed that we create a pheromone when we've been abused, and these men can smell it.
Like a wolf or a dog or something. That's
there's
horrible.
something, but it's in our demeanor. I looked down all the time, couldn't look nobody in the eye. I'd look sideways or run sideways. I couldn't look. I was scared of everybody. And so men recognized that, and they took advantage of it.
Mm.
And I was strong from the farm, and I managed to whoop him up.
Hey, you. If you're enjoying this, why not give us a like and consider following us wherever you get your podcast? Sharing is caring, and we would love your feedback, so drop us a line. Now, back to the SWADE Pro Show.
And
There's just crazy out there, isn't it? I had no idea all this was this bad.
when I did research at Boise State University, I interviewed 1,000 women on campus and off campus. Had some wonderful professors there. Dr. Mary Rolfing was one of my teachers that she let me write all my classwork through. I don't know how many courses I had under her, and she let me write about abuse. And my eyes were opened. And out of that 1,000 women, was 500 of them had been raped or abused in some form. So that meant 1 out of every 2 women. And you had to prove your thesis to the communication department board. And I went to my professor and I said, what am I going to do? He said, well, you've got all this research, but he said, you got to prove it. He said, go down to the local FBI office and talk to them. And I did. And the guy told me, he said, your statistics are right.
Mm.
And now they put out in public, I think it's like every 4 women and every 5 or 6 boys. But my research showed it was in 97, when I did my thesis there. It showed it as every other woman and every third man that was being abused time they were 18.
Yes, that's goodness.
And now we've got sex trafficking.
Right.
My dad was trying to sex traffic me. Is what
Which
he
I
was
think has
doing.
always been there. It's just weird.
It has been.
Yeah.
And women has been sold and auctioned off for centuries. And it's called patriarchy.
Right.
And pater father is in power. You know, pater father has the right to do. And that was my father's. He had that attitude. I was his. He owned me, and he could do what he wanted to.
That kind of makes me think about, I grew up, I spent some time with some people that they're before they moved over from eastern part of the world, their family the father would always pick the person, you know, the old thing where they pick the son-in-law for their daughter. Mm-hmm. But that's basically probably
Had to have a dowry.
Right.
Had so much money. That's where my father was.
Exactly. So basically you're doing the same thing. I mean, I know that the intentions are probably good there, I would like to think, but that's basically the same thing.
Mm-hmm. It is the same thing. And
I mean, you don't know what you're selling your daughter into.
no, you don't.
You really don't.
My dad didn't care. He wanted another farm. He craved money. He craved land. And my grandpa told him one time, he said, "You'll die. None of your kids have anything to do with you."
Right.
I didn't go to his funeral. I didn't go to my mother's funeral.
I wouldn't either.
No, there was no point.
Right.
And my husband, they brought him back here to bury him. And he was living here with his last wife. And 6 Assembly of God preachers tried to preach him into heaven. I know where he is today. He's in hell. There's no redemption for a man who chooses over and over.
Right.
So I have no regrets of fighting and telling my story. I just encourage other women to step forward.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so proud of those in my family who step forward.
Or men.
Yeah, our men. Because I work with men now who've been abused. Now we have, so many classifications of sexuality, and kids, students in all kinds of youth programs are lured into relationships that are wrong.
Right.
And it's nothing but sexual abuse. But they're convinced that they're part of it. And that's horrifying to me because I see so many lives messed up.
Right.
And it's hurtful. But we can fight back, Stacy. We can change the law. We can personally fight back.
Right.
And if you're being abused, walk away. I walked away. I found a lawyer there in Idaho. I'd went to every lawyer in Treasure Valley at that time, and none of them would take me and the children on as a case.
Why?
Didn't want to deal. There was no law to protect you. And so I had made up my mind that day. I was so, went into full-blown PTSD. He raped me 3 or 4 times that last day, injured me so badly that I'm still having to live with the consequences of his attack.
It's horrible.
And I went to this last little attorney, Sergio Gutierrez, little Hispanic. I was his first white client. And I told him my story. My little girl was with me. Mm-hmm. And I could tell he didn't know what to do. But he was a Christian man. And he'd worked in the fields, grew up, and he and his wife had helped put him through law school, but working in the fields, just like what I'd grew up working. And my dad would take the money and keep it. But he looked at me and he said, "You got any money?" I got my billfold out. I had 87 or 89 cents. He said, "Hand it to your little girl." And I gave it to her. He got down on his knees and he said, "Give me the money." And he took her hand and he said, "Thank you. You're now my client." He made her feel important.
I love that.
He was our attorney for 4 years for almost, I think it's $1,479.
That's so awesome. Not about the money, but the way he did that.
Oh, he was appointed then as a circuit judge by Governor Anders because of how he helped us, and then he became an Idaho appeals court judge. And he's wonderful, God and a man.
Good.
And he made a difference in Idaho.
Good.
He kept my baby girl's picture in a big black folder on his up on where he sat as a judge. And he said every child that came in front of him, he looked at that picture. He was a godsend.
Good. It sounds like it.
He was absolutely one of the best men I ever knew.
I like how you did that with your girl.
Yes. She still remembers it.
It made her feel important,
He always talked to her. And his picture's now up in one of the museums at Idaho for what he accomplished.
awesome.
And he mentored a lot of my students when I was teaching. I'd send them to him, and he'd become their mentor, our Hispanic students. He helped a lot of get out of the field and go on and get a vocational education or a college. Was their mentor all through. Was a wonderful man.
That's awesome.
I can't say enough. There's good people out there. I'm telling you, as a victim, there's some teacher, or there'll be a cop. There'll be somebody that will help you if you make enough noise. And nothing else. Go to the hospital. Go to your emergency room and say, I'm being raped. I need help. And ask the doctors to help you. It's mandated here in Arkansas, 24 hours to report. If you've been told a child's been raped or abused, you have 24 hours to report it.
Good.
And so at least we're getting some things
You do it in 10 minutes. Once they tell you that, okay, I'll be right back. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Okay, I got to make a phone call.
Well, I tell all my clients, if you tell me something that you're breaking the law, I have to report it in 24 hours.
Exactly.
And I do.
Right.
I don't hold back. I call the cops.
Good.
And intervene. Because who else is going to stand up if you and I don't, Stacy?
Exactly.
And I appreciate so much. And if if you want to learn the rest of my story, go to Amazon.com, and my books are on there. And the last book I'd like to talk about is the counseling book. It's called When Forgiveness Isn't Enough, From Victim to Survivor. This is a book that I wrote through my research at Boise State University and through Kenneth, lost his name. But anyway,
No problem.
it's a dramatist theorist. And I wrote this book, and he stands up in court. And I donate it to any law firm that wants to use it. I'll personally send you the book.
There you go.
I give it to any prosecutor, any sheriff's department, police department. I'll give it to you free.
That's awesome.
And let you have it to use. I've got pictures in there drawing explicitly what happens to a victim. When rape occurs, I spent a lot of time and money developing that book. And it's my gift back for all the people who stood behind me, Stacy.
So that puts your money where your mouth is, if you will.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've yet to make money off of it, but I sure provide it for anyone that wants it.
Right, as a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes. And I'm hoping that with all three books that we can get a movie on the first two and then turn that into a television series.
That'd be awesome.
That's what I'm working on. Yes.
That'd be awesome.
I've got a name for the series.
What is it? Can you share it?
I'm not going to share it.
Okay.
Give it away.
Okay.
But it's so important that we are comfortable in telling my story. I want the GQ public, the general public, just to be able to sit down and say, Tracy, Stacy, I've been raped. Let's talk about it.
And let's go to the sheriff's office first.
Yes. Yes,
Get your help, and then we'll talk.
But if we can get the public comfortable, we've made it a shame. We've made it.
Which is what it wants. It wants to be hidden.
Yes, that's what we've kept it all these years. And in my counseling book, I have a program to restore a young woman or boy. I have a way that you can work and restore what I call your spiritual virginity, where you forgive yourself, or that you're made to feel clean. That there's a ceremony that you'll do. And it's so wonderful, that feeling of being cleansed of this thing that happened against your will.
Right.
And that's what, if we can have that done. When I watch women, when I work with them, I did group therapy for a long time, especially back here. And when an epiphany hits them, their eyes light up, their whole body.
Right.
It's like a chain has been around their neck, and all of a sudden they've cast it off, and they realize, hey, I'm worth something.
Right.
I didn't do anything wrong.
That's
and the joy of it and the freedom of it, when they walk out and realize, I've got a right to be happy.
They're changed.
Yes. And any man that marries a woman that's been raped and uses that to harm her, he ought to have to go to jail.
At least.
Yeah. He's an abuser mentally. And that happens so often. And a lot of women are afraid to talk about it or, tell about it because of, in the churches, they'll say, well, it's your fault. I know if churches have made their victims go apologize to the man they accused of raping them, said, oh, I just imagined it was my fault. I caused it. I've seen in the courtrooms, attorneys accuse the child and say, well, you really you like what Daddy did.
Really? Are you serious?
Dead serious.
I mean, talk about the attorney. Like, really? I mean,
yes, they do that to children.
That is horrible.
And that's why we have to have an amendment that protects that child's rights.
Of
No
course.
attorney. I know it's an adversarial court system, but no attorney should sit and tell a little 6-year-old girl that you wanted it. You liked what daddy did to you. You
And
enjoyed
even
it.
if she's too young to know any better.
Yes.
And so,
I've heard attorneys say, well, you spread your legs for him. You pulled your dress up.
that's horrible.
No. But that's what happened. That's why victims are not coming forward, Stacey.
Right, because
is they're victimized in the court system.
Right.
Cops, I've seen them ask the same kind of questions to young women or young boys. We live in a crazy world,
We do.
and it's to me it's sick.
Yeah.
Something has to change.
At least.
Patriarchy needs to be outlawed.
At least it's psycho world.
Yes, it is. And it seems worse. You know, The Sound of Freedom was a wonderful movie on sex trafficking.
Yes.
This is why I'm working so hard trying to get my script out there. I want people to see into the home of sex abuse victim,
Right.
willing to talk, willing to share their story, and realize that my story is just one of millions that needs to be told.
Right.
There was 4 kids in my family. None of them escaped the abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Though they don't want to talk about it or realize it, none of them. And it's just there, and we've got to face it and deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
If we can okay the sound of freedom and feel sorry for all the little kids kidnapped, which is sex exploitation in this country is the number one business.
I bet.
Money-making business in this country is sex trafficking.
I bet. And that's sad. That is so wrong.
Well, so many reading a politician don't want to change the law because they're participating.
Right. And they're being paid to hush.
And
Turn their back.
are not get exposed for what they are.
Right.
We've got sick people in the world, and
They're in power.
Yeah.
You know.
And so by telling my story and doing my movie, I want to empower victims to speak up. I want to empower you. If you want to run for office to get some of these people out of office, do it. Grow up. You can be whoever you dream and want to be.
Right.
There's nothing that says a victim has to be at the bottom of society.
Correct.
I'm the cream of the crop.
There you
Stacey.
go. There you go. I like that.
I'm somebody. I'm a
That's
child.
exactly right.
I'm a child of Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
He died for my sins, made me a daughter of God. And that's how I stand.
Awesome.
You got any more questions?
I don't know. I don't know. Goodness, I'm hanging on every word.
Not one thing is off limits in asking.
No, I mean, I'm just, I don't know. My deal is despite the past, you're still, like you just said, I'm the cream of the crop.
I'm going to fight.
That's awesome.
I'm going to fight, Stacey. If you outlive me, I want my funeral to be one, she fought like hell.
That's awesome. See, I want that mentality, because, just think of everybody had that mentality, how much better we would be.
We would. There is no excuse for covering up sex abuse. There's no excuse for it not to be comfortable to deal with it. A child needs to know, and if we teach enough and come forward enough, we'd have so many people coming forward if they could just get brave enough.
Right.
But the mentality, you are convinced it's your fault.
And they're being told, nobody will listen, nobody care, they won't believe you, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
or we'll kill your...
Right.
My husband told my little girl, if you tell, I'll kill your mama.
See?
And I'll kill your dog and your cat.
See? Yeah.
And that's what's happening. And I knew something was going on. So it took me a few months to get her. I kept talking to her, telling her nobody's supposed to be touching you. Because I couldn't get the older kids to talk. But when she told me, I knew she was telling me the truth. I believed her. And this is something that we have to believe when the child comes to us.
Right.
And Arkansas doesn't even have an equipped with enough machines. They have a X-ray that they can actually X-ray a child and see the scarring and see everything. I took one little girl to Children's Hospital. The doctor examiner come out and he said, Miss Cordell, she has been raped. But I guarantee you they won't do nothing.
No.
And that sheriff didn't do a thing.
That's horrible. See,
that's right here in the last few years.
If you go get help, you should be able to get help.
Yes.
And that's the part, but that's what I'm trying to get at, is even if you say you want to get help, you go get help, the help doesn't help, that's not the last straw. You got to
No,
keep
you
going.
got to keep fighting.
Right.
And that's where with Ronald Gene Simmons, he isolated, and that's another thing that we need to talk about, is the isolation of families who are doing incest. They isolate their children. We've got so many people off grid now with families and living just out in the woods, basically. And
off grid.
With no electricity, no phone, no television. Their children have no outside influence or no outside way to even tell.
Yeah, or even know how to do it.
There's
leave
thousands.
the property.
There's thousands of children isolated.
That's horrible.
And that's what Simmons did. And my husband tried that with me. And I dug my own grave. He made me dig my grave one night. Told me, he said, I'm going to kill you. He said, I'm putting the word out that you're fixing to go on a trip. And he said, you're dead. I dug my grave 6 foot deep. And then he made me fill it up. And he said, now it'll be easy for me to clean out when I'm ready for you to die.
Ugh.
And I lived in such fear that I knew when my baby told me I had to run. And he was trying to break the car window out as I drove off. And I went and picked my oldest daughter up. And my son was there. I told him, I said, you start the car, you have to read the book to find out what I did.
No problem. No problem. I understand.
But I got away.
Good.
And I fought for my children. And you'll lose your children often when you fight. But they're still worth it. I fought.
Yeah, they're worth it.
I have no regrets fighting.
Right.
I haven't heard from my 2 older children in 18 years. But it's worth it. I have no regrets for what I did, Stacy.
That's where being a parent comes in, not being a friend.
Yeah.
As a parent knows better and has to make the tough
I had to
choices.
make those decisions, and I made them.
Right.
I knew it was up to me. I told them as I drove down the road, we're never going back. So many women go back up to 32 times and often ends in murder and domestic violence.
Wonder why.
It's the mindset. They have been physically abused and mentally abused. They can't break that. I'll tell you in a minute. It is a bondage that is there that holds them in a grip of terror.
Right.
They live in terror, and it's hard to break that captivity bondage. It is a syndrome. I'm old. Forgive me.
You're good. You're good.
It's Stockholm Syndrome.
Oh.
That's what is happening. That is really what it is. When a woman can't get away, they have been so brainwashed. And they don't know how to be any different.
Right.
This is all they know. Often women who marry abusers come from abusive homes.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes. That's what I did. I went from one abusive home to another one. And it was...
It's kind of like that thing, people always wonder, well, if if a girl, marries or whatever, goes out with a person who hits them,
oh, that's bad in this country.
It's like, well, if he or she would have done that from the start, they would have had one date, but it's over time.
Yeah. It's a breaking down, gradual.
Right.
It took me 7 years to find out what my husband was.
That's horrible.
And after I got away from him, I talked to his psychiatrist in Little Rock at the federal VA hospital. Yeah. She told me, she said, the only good time he ever was when he's with you, but she told me, she said, your lawyer needs to subpoena the records from here.
Yep.
And when we did, I seen a long trail of what he was.
Right.
It was in his, VA doctor's medical records.
Right.
And I got to read all of that.
Oh, goodness.
The lawyer sat down, and I read everything in his medical records.
Goodness.
Yet his older children have tried to deny. Some of them have. But they were badly mistreated. He abused them all. There's no escaping this. There's no use in being denial.
Right.
They can't be no madder at me than what they are.
Right.
And he was an awful man. And there's no way to have preached him into heaven.
Right.
Here's the kicker. That 2% that stops sexually abusing. I learned this in teaching in prison. About 75% of the men I worked with, the 3,000 men prison, was sex offenders.
75% of them?
Yes.
Goodness.
And only 2% ever quit. And that's when they own their crime. They say, I did it, I'm admitting it. And that's what I say to the church world. If a man is in the church and he's raped somebody, unless he says, I've done it, goes and confesses it to the police and takes the consequences, he's not going to stop. He's going to keep right on being the Sunday school teacher,
Right.
scout leader, the lawyer, the doctor,
Whatever it may be, right?
whatever they're going to keep right on doing it because he got away with it.
Right.
Convince the public, I'm this perfect, charming, wonderful, godly man.
Right.
In the Pentecostal circles, we believe in speaking in tongues, being filled with the Holy Spirit.
Right.
My husband could dance all over the church while I was preaching, talking tongues, and everybody thought he was just this most wonderful man.
Goodness.
But he was a wolf in sheep's clothing.
That kind of makes you think, not just in churches, but, day to day, you never know who you're running into and what they're carrying.
Charming.
That's why it says, the be nice to everybody,
Yeah.
because you don't know what they're packing, like not gun wise, but you don't know what they're holding on their back.
And you've got to know somebody. Don't do like I did, marry. I dated that guy 3 days and married him.
Oh,
Now you'll be really shocked at what an idiot I was.
that was probably, I would think that's probably just a way out from where you were. You
I
know
was
what I mean?
real sick and ill, but as I said, dumber than a gourd. But all he taught, I knew his daughter. His oldest daughter was my friend at college.
Mm.
And she seemed like a wonderful girl, and I thought he'd be a wonderful, man.
Mm.
But he sure fooled me.
It was just a way out of a situation.
It
real
was.
Quick. You thought
I was needy. I admit I was wrong in marrying him. It's my fault. I married him.
Yeah, but that isn't your fault for the rest of it, though.
No, it was not my fault. He chose.
Right.
But he got me, and he had a fetish for having kids. He had 11 children.
Oh, goodness.
He wanted me to have one child after the other. He didn't believe in birth control, but I did.
Goodness.
It's a name for it. My mother liked being pregnant. It's a psychological condition. And men like him create babies to have more babies to rape.
That's horrible. I didn't even think about that.
I've thought of it all to write this counseling book and do my next one.
Right.
My next counseling book called Pieces of God. I'm going to explain and examine in depth. It'll be another book, hopefully be used in court, at looking at when the court, you go to court and you're accused of it's your fault, that's a little piece pulled out of the soul. Mm-hmm. The holes that are left in victimization.
Right.
I want to examine that very close. If I get nothing else done, the Lord will help me. That's my next book.
That's awesome.
To come out. I've got it outlined.
I like that little analogy, the pieces and the holes in the soul. I like that.
Well, it leaves holes. And God's the only thing that can make the healing and making the wholeness of that person, that's the reason you can become a survivor. Mm-hmm. You're worth it. The Word of God, He gives you every advantage. We are His children. We're His beloved, most beautiful in His sight. And to me, that's the most precious thing that I've come out of all of my life is that I know I'm a child of God.
Awesome.
And that He's been everything to me. Still is.
Sounds
today.
like at a young age too.
Yes.
When you
yes,
gave you the hope.
I won't tell the story of the red bird. I'll let people have to read the book to figure that out.
Exactly.
But God's Holy Spirit can manifest Himself in many ways. And He manifested to me on many occasions as a beautiful red bird. And meant a lot. It was part of my survival.
Red bird, like a cardinal? Will you say okay.
Yeah, red bird. I call it. We grew up as a red bird. I didn't know what a cardinal was, but it's a red bird.
Right.
And
I mean, the bluebirds are called bluebirds.
Yes.
Well, not a red bird. No, it's a cardinal. Where do we get this from? I don't make the rules. I just play by them.
I just try to. But the red bird is central in my script and in the book.
Good.
But the red bird to me was the Holy Spirit of God.
There you go.
And it's a beautiful story and
awesome.
One of overcoming. And that's the main thing. We are made overcomers by fighting back. Mm-hmm. And what the scripture says, we're made overcome by the word of our testimony. To me, the word of my testimony is telling my story.
Right.
And being able to put it out there.
Right. All right. That's it.
Unless you got some more questions.
I don't know of anything. I don't know what I don't know, But I think if having more questions, we could definitely, meet back up.
Yes.
No problem at all. Miss Cae, thanks.
You're welcome, dear.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for listening.
One more thing. Tell them, so can they go to your website and go have it. There's a link on Amazon to go to the book.
Yes.
Okay.
My website, you can, I've got several interviews on there, a lot of pictures, different parts of my life. And I'd encourage you to go there, go to Amazon, read the books, tell Amazon how you like the books.
Right. Tell them again your website again.
Cae Cordell, CaeCordell.com.
Awesome.
And it's comes up. And you can go also to Cordell on YouTube, Cordell space V, small letter V2, and see I wrote a little skit there about incest and abuse. I have several actors doing that. And it's really
send me that link, and if it's okay, I'll put it in the description so people can go right to it on my YouTube channel.
I'll do that.
All right, awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you, Miss Cae.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the SWADE Pro Show. See you guys on the next episode.